A cherished English tea set, steeped in history, has been a family heirloom for 3 generations, dating back to 1844. This elegant tea set from the early Victorian era features Queen Victoria's head in its date marks. Crafted by the renowned London silversmith Edward Barnard, the tea set is notable for its intricate Victorian design. It features exquisite engraving, scrollwork, and a gold-washed interior. William Jennings, a prominent figure and reputedly the first millionaire in the state of Utah, owned the tea set. Jennings, a successful butcher and owner of the first U.S. department store, acquired this fine tea set.
He was a butcher, and he owned the Eagle Emporium, which is now ZCMI.
Carrying the monogram of Jennings, the set also reflects his high status and taste. Its value today is estimated to be around
I think the 4 pieces together would bring about $5,000.
Oh, thank you very much.
In the heart of New Orleans, known for its rich culinary traditions, a remarkable piece of history was brought to light. A rare and exquisite oyster plate, a true treasure perfectly suited to one of the world's premier oyster capitals. Crafted by Minton in 1857, this plate is a masterpiece of design with a nearly invisible date mark. What sets this oyster plate apart is not just its beauty, but its unique functionality. It features a rare mechanism that allows it to spin, enabling the easy serving of over 24 oysters around the table. Such mechanisms are often missing from plates of this age, making this piece even more exceptional. Beyond its practicality, the plate holds significant appeal for Majolica collectors, who prize its rarity, age, and intricate design. Given its historical significance and rarity, this oyster plate typically sells for between
This piece usually sells for between $10,000 and $15,000.
A collection of intriguing historical photographs, inherited from a family member, captures a rare glimpse into the past. These 1850s photographs from Claiborne County near Vicksburg capture the early days of antebellum Southern photography. Daguerreotypes and ambrotypes offer a rare glimpse into life on the now destroyed Buckhorn plantation. Among them is a daguerreotype of Stephen Armstrong, a cherished African-American cook from the plantation.
These photographs here are relatively common. Collectively, the 3 photographs there may be worth $200 or $300.
Unlike the other photographs in the collection, which are relatively common, this daguerreotype is exceptionally rare. It features Armstrong in a striking pose, holding a book, an unusual detail given the restrictions on educating slaves at the time. The daguerreotype's mirror-like finish underscores Armstrong's significant role and esteemed status as a valued servant. In an auction setting, this particular daguerreotype could fetch up to
I would not be surprised to see that photograph sell for maybe as much as $5,000.
Oh my heavens.
A collection of 1920s garments passed down through generations offers a glimpse into a bygone era of fashion and elegance.
Women had got rid of all of that understructure, the corsets, they had freedom of movement.
Originally belonging to the guest grandmother, these garments later made their way to Montana. The centerpiece of this collection is a luxurious cocoon coat, crafted from gold lame brocade fabric woven with gold threads. This material was so expensive to produce that it remains highly sought after on the vintage market today. Designed to wrap around the wearer, the coat's cocoon shape embodies the bold, free-spirited style of the 1920s. Adorned with ermine fur, the coat exudes royal opulence and remains highly desirable in fashion. Accompanying the coat is a quintessential 1920s flapper gown with geometric diamond shapes and a French fleur-de-lis design. Made of ivory silk and lavender chiffon, the gown is pristine and labeled as French. The collective value of these cherished 1920s garments is estimated to be between
You would expect to pay between $1,000 and $1,200. The coat, this is such a hot item that you could expect to pay between $2,000 and $2,500.
Wow.
A newly discovered collection of War of 1812 documents uncovers a fascinating historical chapter. These documents, including a rare letter of marque, belong to Benjamin Crowenshield, a Salem merchant. The issued letter of marque enabled Benjamin Crowninshield and his brothers to act as privateers and seize British ships.
And a privateer essentially is a civil pirate.
Signed by President James Madison and Secretary of State James Monroe, this document reflects a pivotal moment in Madison's presidency. It allows the Crowninshields to capture British vessels and disrupt British naval operations. Along with the letter of marque are congressional instructions and a clerical copy of another letter. While signed by Monroe and Madison, the clerical copy bears signatures made by a clerk rather than the officials themselves. Collectively, the three documents are estimated to be worth between
I would think a collector would certainly pay between $4,000 and $5,000.
Wow.
I hope that made the long wait worthwhile.
It did. That's interesting.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
A striking piece of jewelry bought as a personal reward 25 years ago remains a cherished gift. Initially thought to be a 1905 Italian creation, the necklace features Turkish turquoise, gold, and about 9 carats of diamonds. While the piece indeed boasts exquisite design and craftsmanship, it appears to be more modern than originally thought. The presence of brilliant cut diamonds indicates the necklace was likely made between 1960 and 1965. Crafted from 18-karat gold and featuring Persian turquoise, the finest quality available, the necklace displays a contemporary style. It is adorned with diamond clusters extending to the clasp.
What did you pay for the piece?
Close to $20,000.
Despite its less antique provenance, the necklace remains a beautiful and highly wearable accessory. Significantly less than the original purchase price, the current auction estimate for this piece ranges between
I'd give it a current auction estimate in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $12,000, which is somewhat less than you paid for it.
Significantly less.
Dorothy Wendell Heiser, born in Pennsylvania around 1881, was a trailblazing artist who defied the challenges for women in the fine arts. Heiser, renowned for her lifelike dolls, meticulously sculpted and hand-painted each one in silk. Her dolls, from historical to charming, came in original hand-painted and signed boxes. Discovered in their original boxes and passed down through generations, the collection includes several exquisite dolls.
And then knowing the family history and knowing that you are the niece of this very fine artist.
Very special person.
The largest doll in this collection is in pristine condition, complete with hand-sculpted features and original clothing. Despite signs of age, the boxes retain their artistic value, and the 2 smaller dolls housed in them are both rare and valuable. Another doll, featuring additional clothing, is highly valued for its uniqueness and the extra details it includes. Collectively, the entire collection holds a remarkable value of approximately
I believe that doll in its box would retail between $5,000 and $6,000.
A stunning Georgia amethyst and gold necklace, crafted in England, has been cherished and passed down through generations. Showcasing delicate canateel wirework and faceted Siberian amethyst, the necklace is a masterpiece. Complementing the necklace, matching earrings capture Georgian period's opulent revival of dramatic, hanging designs. One unique aspect of the necklace is its detachable drop, which can be converted into a pin.
You and I know about this drop.
It can be removed.
Then it becomes a pin.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I didn't know that.
Some reversible alterations, like lead solder and screwbacks, were made to the necklace and earrings over the years. With careful restoration, the items can be returned to their original state. Decades ago, the necklace was appraised at $1,400, but its value has significantly appreciated over time. Today, at auction, it is estimated to fetch between
It would be in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $12,000.
Lovely.
That includes a pin also.
It does.
a charming pot, originally believed to be Majolica, turns out to be something even more unique in 19th century English bargeware.
The finial, which is adorable, the little miniature pot, happens to be fairly typical of the ware.
Bargeware, or canal ware, was designed for the practical needs of those living on barges. Its sturdy, broad base was meant to withstand the rocking motion of the boat. This pot is adorned with colorful relief designs featuring flowers and birds, reflecting the vibrant life along England's canals. Dated 1887 and bearing a name, this particular piece adds a personal touch to its history. Despite some damage and restoration, which is common given its everyday use, the pot remains a delightful example of bargeware. In perfect condition, such a piece could fetch between $1,200 and $1,500. However, due to its current state, its value is estimated at
Would sell for in the $1,200 to $1,500 range. But in its present condition, I would say it's worth, about $600 to $800.
It's very interesting.
An evocative oil painting, signed and dated 1921, captures a charming New Orleans courtyard scene. This painting depicts a serene New Orleans garden with a tranquil courtyard, lush greenery, and delicate floral details. A notable New Orleans artist born in Hahnville in 1897, the artwork was created by Clarence Millais. Millet's early struggle gave way to recognition when he was discovered by prominent painters Louis Oscar Griffith and Robert Grafton.
I think it's a real gem and a nice example that shows that he was a relatively mature artist even at a young age.
He studied at Tulane University and the Art Students League in New York before establishing himself in New Orleans. Gifted to the grandfather of the guest by Millais, the painting is a testament to the artist's skill and early maturity. The artwork not only reflects Millet's distinctive style, but also carries a piece of personal and artistic history. Now, with Millet's work being highly collectible, this particular piece is estimated to be valued between
An example of this size, I would imagine, would be estimated in the region of $5,000 to $7,000.
Nice.
I would suggest an insurance value of about $10,000.
A fragile devotional object, believed to be as much as 500 years old, underwent a remarkable transformation. Originally housed in a private oratory, this intricately painted piece was restored to reveal its true beauty. Initially thought to depict the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the painting was actually a nativity scene. Restoring the piece revealed its true depiction, dramatically enhancing its appearance and significance.
Often with an object as beautifully painted as this, and also as dirty as this, only a torch can show up the detail.
Colors now reflect the intensity and spiritual significance of the era in which it was created. Likely linked to the Netherlands, the work exhibits stylistic traits reminiscent of the renowned artist Hieronymus Bosch. Significant value has been added to the piece due to the restoration. Initially valued at £40,000 to £60,000, its refined quality now suggests a potential worth of up to
Would pay anything up to £90,000 for an object like this.
The guest brought a Humphreys specifics cabinet that was originally part of her father's pharmacy in Beamer, Nebraska. Her father purchased the pharmacy in 1933. The cabinet was likely part of the inventory at that time. The cabinet, dating from around 1930, had a list on the back that was used by customers to point out their ailments, such as fevers, congestion, and sore throats. And the pharmacist would retrieve the corresponding remedy from the designated drawer. The appraiser highlighted the cabinet's historical significance, noting that it contained homeopathic medicines. There was also Humphreys' manual, talking about what each drug was, reflecting an awareness of the dangers of addictive substances even in the 1930s. Remarkably, the cabinet still held almost all of its original items, each in pristine condition, with the boxes and packaging untouched. The guest mentioned that about 20 to 25 years ago, someone offered her husband $500 for the cabinet, as their last name was Humphrey, but she chose not to sell it. Given that this cabinet was filled with approximately 130 different medications and treatments in excellent condition, its auction value was estimated to be between
the quality of the items, the condition of the items inside here, we estimated at auction this would sell between $4,000 to $6,000.
Oh, really? Oh, my gosh. Imagine that amount of money in 1933.
The guest presented a Peruvian Vargueno that was purchased by her parents in 1936 in Cusco, Peru. The appraiser confirmed that the piece was indeed a Peruvian Vargueno, likely dating to the mid-18th century, around 1750. It retained much of its originality, including the ironwork such as the hasp and lock plate, which were original and had developed a beautiful patina. The Vargueno, described as a traveling desk, would have been used by a traveler in Peru or Bolivia to store personal belongings and papers. This Vargueno was still in original condition and featured rare provincial village scenes on the front of the drawers, rather than the more common floral patterns. The latches were also original. While some of the inlay had popped off, this was not significant, especially since the piece would likely have been placed against a wall or on a table. The appraiser attributed the slight damage to changes in temperature and humidity when the piece was brought over from South America. Additionally, a small leather box was found inside the Vargueno and might have been used to store coins or other personal items. Given the Vargueno's originality and condition, the appraiser estimated its value at auction to be between.
Given the fact that it's in the good condition that it's in, I would probably place an auction estimate around $3,000 to $5,000 for this piece.
Really? Yeah. Exciting. Yeah. That's really exciting.
This garniture was acquired by the guest parents in 1931 or 1932 during one of their summer vacations. The collection is an altar garniture that is common in China and Japan. Part of the collection is a gu in Chinese terms, which is based on Chinese bronze forms, and the center shape is an incense burner. Both are found in Japan and China. Also, the candle holders are all shapes you would find in both China and Japan. However, this collection is more Chinese than Japanese because of the decoration, which is enamel worked upon the porcelain bodies of the items. The majority of these came from Jingdezhen in China, and it dates to the mid-19th century when they were made for a major temple. The censer features a Buddhist lion at the top, believed to be a protective figure, and an aperture where the smoke of incense passed through. Moreover, the aperture is made like coins with an inference of wealth, and the legs of this collection are elephant-styled. Some chips and cracks are noticed around the candlesticks and legs, and repairs which will affect the value at auction. Therefore, it would be worth.
So that's going to affect the value a little bit. It's worth about $15,000 to $25,000 at auction.
Are you kidding? Wow. Wow. Oh, I'm not supposed to say wow. My parents would be amazed.
Spotted right on as a valuable item, the guest brought in an Ansel Adams print, which he purchased at an estate sale. It is called a gelatin silver print, and at the bottom is the artist's signature. His middle name was Easton, hence Ansel Easton Adams. He signed most of his early prints with an E, but stopped later, and this print does not have his middle name. This piece is called Oak Tree Snowstorm, and on the back it says Special Edition of Fine Prints. Photographs of Yosemite by Ansel Adams. The original owner probably bought it in Yosemite at a cheaper price. However, the guest paid just $2 to the surprise of the appraiser. Furthermore, the piece is not vintage print, which means it was probably printed around the 1960s or 1970s, as confirmed by the stamp at the back. This piece is in pristine condition, but the frame is old, and it is advised that the print be matted, the glass be changed to plexiglass, and framed. At an auction, this photograph would be worth around.
Auction, I'd easily estimate it at 2 to 3.
That's fantastic, really. What a surprise.
This ball was acquired in 1951 by the guest uncle when he was 22 years old at an exhibition game in Addiston, Alabama. The Birmingham Barons versus the Roy Campanella All-Stars. Roy Campanella All-Stars are already in the big leagues with the Brooklyn Dodgers, one of the most famous teams of their time. In 1951, after the season ended, Roy Campanella assembled some of his black American friends who had played in the Negro Leagues, and this ball bears most of their names. The first name on the ball is Roy Campanella, who unfortunately was involved in an accident later in the 1950s and couldn't sign anything afterwards, so it's a good one. Next are Hall of Famers with Willie Mays on top, although Roy Campanella and Monty Irvin got into the Hall of Fame later. Willie Mays was a rookie in 1951 and was only a few years out of being a Birmingham Black Baron, and his signature is seen twice on the ball. Although this does not affect the value in any way, it goes a long way to show the wonderful and rich Negro League history as they transitioned to the big leagues. The ball is in great condition, and the signatures are bold, early signatures, and a reasonable insurance value would be...
If I were to insure it, I would insure it for nothing less than $4,000.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Ceramic expert and Art Deco fan Will Farmer was fascinated by this American one-sheet movie poster for Metropolis. This phenomenal movie was first released in Germany, but only a few posters survived, as there are only 4 known copies still available. One of the posters sold in Germany a few years back for around £400,000 because of the iconic image on it. However, in America, the movie flopped at some point, so no one saw the American one-sheet movie poster, and none has come up for sale. To know an original American one-sheet movie poster, the first thing to check is the size and the distributor. The size is specifically 27 by 41 inches, and the distributor of the movie in America was Paramount. With these two features combined, if this poster came up for auction, it could fetch.
The general belief is that if one did surface, it would be the first movie poster in the world to fetch in excess of $1 million US. So £750,000.
Wow. Well, on the off chance you have one lying around your attic, get in touch.
This old item has been in the guest house for many years, and he thought it would be worth a few £100s. More research is needed for this item, but Paul Martin placed a value for it around £8,000 to £12,000. In its condition and age, this item could probably fetch as high as £20,000. It dates to the 17th and 18th centuries during the era of the first great emperor of the Ming dynasty. His reign spanned for 4 centuries, from 1662 to 1722. Some chips and damage is noticed on the item due to age. At the auction, bidding started at £5,000, which continued to increase. This item became the highest-priced item ever on the show at a sum of...
Here's the bid on the telephone at £44,000. You're all done. So, thank you very much.
Is it worth £44,000? Congratulations, Tom. Congratulations. Do I get a kiss for that?
These are very old antiques. The first one was made in 2000 BC, while the other is around the Bronze Age of 1500 BC. The next item is a book titled The History of Richmond, and in it is a written note addressed to the owner. On opening the book, there is a rich history of Richmond with a map inside. The third antique is a pair of enameled opera glasses made with rose enamel. Lastly, this antique was made from 1910 to 1915. It is known as a Newland copper inkwell, as inscribed on the body. This lovely item has been rolled over around the sides, and when the lid is lifted, you can see where the ink chamber is.
You can see. It's the most wonderful desk inkwell.
The cane, a gift from his aunt in the 80s, was cherished. This 1881 cane by J.D. Batts is a fine example of folk art, showcasing intricate craftsmanship. This cane is both a functional aid and a vivid work of art with detailed carvings and vibrant colors. This wood is in his canvas, featuring fish, a hammerhead shark, and reptiles like an alligator. Explore how this wood reveals a vibrant world.
At the very bottom, we see a different tone to the wood, because that's where a metal ferrule, it is called, would have been.
The polychrome technique adds color and depth, making the cane visually striking. It is noted that there are 182 figures carved into the top of the cane. This cane combines practicality with decoration, reflecting the era's values. The appraiser valued it for its intricate craftsmanship and history.
I think a nice retail value on a beautiful piece like this would be in the $4,000 to $5,000 range.
Oh, wow. Great.
A painting was presented by the guest, who had acquired it at an estate sale in Washington, D.C. The piece, created by artist Jessie Wilcox Smith, caught the appraiser's attention. Smith was renowned for her illustrations in popular books like Little Women and Heidi, as well as her work in magazines and advertisements.
And she was also from Philadelphia, where Cassatt was from. She was born in 1863 and died in 1935. And before she studied at the Academy, she went to the Design School for Women.
This particular painting featured a little girl, one of the most sought-after subjects in Smith's portfolio. While the painting remained in its original condition, it had yellowed due to the varnish discoloration. Moreover, it showed some damage that required conservation work. Despite these issues, the appraiser still valued this stunning piece at...
In its present condition, it might be worth $75,000.
The guest brought a poster of Elvis Presley to the show, which had an interesting backstory. The poster had been given to the guest by her grandmother, who had received it from an ex-boyfriend. The appraiser discussed Elvis's early career and how he wasn't well received initially. The movie King Creole, which the poster promoted, was a significant part of Elvis's career. Elvis's depiction in his military uniform on the poster was considered historically significant.
So the movie came out in 1958, and at this time Elvis was about to go into the U.S. service. So a month before he was set to report to film the movie, he received his draft notice.
The poster's fold lines indicated it was specifically for military use, as noted at the bottom of the poster. Although it wasn't an original 1958 print, but a re-release, the appraiser emphasized its rarity, which greatly increased its value. The estimated auction price for this unique piece was?
I'd put an estimated auction of at least $1,200 to $1,500.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The guest brought a china set with a significant historical background. The set had been gifted as a token of gratitude to the guest's ancestor by the King of Prussia in 1854. The item came with a letter and a wooden box. The appraiser read the translated letter, which expressed the king's gratitude and bore the king's red wax seal. The porcelain was identified as having been made in Berlin by the Royal Berlin Porcelain Factory. The appraiser pointed out the marks at the bottom of the piece.
We've got a blue scepter mark there, which is the mark of that maker, which is underglazed blue. And then there's a round mark with an eagle in it. And then next to that is an orb with a cross on it, and beneath that it says KPM.
There was also a KPM inscription beneath, a type of porcelain highly regarded by American collectors. The interiors of the cups and bowl were painted with gold, indicating that this was among the most expensive porcelain of its time. With the historical provenance, the estimated value of the full set
would be somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. Really a nice amount.
The guest brought a pot that had belonged to his great-aunt. The beautiful piece had been acquired by the aunt as a gift from a family. The appraiser identified the pot as likely dating from the 1880s. It originated from the Zuni pueblo in far western New Mexico. The Zuni people were known for their distinctive and intricate pottery. The unique style and design made their pottery stand out from other pueblo pottery. Their creations often featured traditional motifs, including symbolic patterns and detailed depictions of nature. The pot in question, a water jar, was noted for its symmetry, which was impressive for its time. Given the pot's craftsmanship, its estimated value was...
I would expect this to go in the range of $1,800 to $2,200, somewhere in there.
Imagine having a passion for all things Art Deco. That's what today's guest has, and he's on a mission to photograph every Art Deco cinema in the country. Due to being fascinated with Art Deco architecture, he began taking pictures of buildings with Art Deco structure. This fascination led him to start taking pictures of Art Deco cinemas.
And I thought it'd be quite an interesting project to actually see how many were left and to revisit these sites, capturing the buildings as they are now.
These cinemas, built in the 1920s, had their structures influenced by the Art Deco of the era. Their architecture and construction are defined by their geometric shapes. Additionally, the reason cinemas were the ones built mainly like this was because going to cinemas at the time was a really big deal. The guest hopes to put the pictures of the cinemas he's got into a book or collection soon.
Only 58 are left. I've got 10 left to shoot, hopefully putting the collection together in some sort of exhibition or book towards the end of the year.
When the guest grandmother was a young girl, she was fascinated by Maxfield Parrish's illustrations like Arabian Nights and wrote a letter to him. To her surprise, Parrish responded with a personal letter and a painting. His letter revealed his admiration for her and his own connection to Baraboo, Wisconsin. The painting, executed in oil on an artist board, is a beautiful example of Parrish's work.
So I read that he was famous for a certain color of blue, but this is not the...
There's a little bit of that in there in the bottom of the coat, but yes, and really those colors were created by layers of layers of layers, so think...
The guest grandmother, the original recipient of the painting, cherished it for many years. Objects like these with different layers of colors take months to complete. The painting is dated back to 1906, and its value has increased significantly over time. The appraiser estimates current insurance value of this gift as...
I would place the insurance value at $50,000.
Wow.
We've all heard the saying, time is money. This phrase has endured because employers have always needed a way to ensure their workers show up on time.
The challenge was how to ensure that those employees turned up for work on time and did the hours that they were supposed to.
During the Industrial Revolution, this idea became even more important, leading to the development of timekeeping machines. At the Museum of Timekeeping at the British Horological Institute, we met with an expert to discuss how clocks were used back then. One example is the clocking in machine from the early 1900s. Each employee had a unique number they used to punch in when they arrived at work.
So if I was arriving at work, I would take this lever, move it around to 901, and I'd push this through.
These machines were quite innovative at the time, helping to ensure punctuality and paving the way for modern biometric systems. Inventions like these machines are valuable, and it's interesting to think about how much they would be worth today if they were newly created. Today's featured item is a strangely shaped and distinctive flask. The guest grandmother originally owned it, and for a long time they mistook it for a doll.
She played with it.
Wow.
She played with it, and we don't know why there's a hole in the head. I don't know if there used to be another type of hair coming out or what. But...
Okay.
As it turns out, it's a rare and exquisite bottle produced by Moravian potters. The origins of this bottle can be linked to Salem, North Carolina.
Salem was the center of southern pottery making. The industry began there in the mid-18th century.
Bottles in this style were produced from approximately 1810 to 1830 during the early 19th century. The opening at the top of this piece was once plugged with a cork.
So it was not a doll.
Okay.
It was actually used to store liquid in.
Moravian potters in Old Salem produced various forms similar to this one. A vertical seam on the side of this piece reveals it was made in a mold.
In a pressed mold. So the clay was put together, then they pushed the mold together to make it. It was not a hand-thrown bottle. It was a mold-made flask.
As a highly collectible item in outstanding condition, it holds significant value, estimated to be...
This flask would sell at auction for between $15,000 and $25,000.
That's amazing. God. So I'll keep on dusting it. Maybe I'll put it away so it doesn't get dusted.
Before us stands a table of exceptional craftsmanship. The guest and her husband acquired this remarkable piece of furniture from a dealer drawn to its Art Deco style. Surprisingly, this table was not constructed during the 1920s or 1930s, as one might assume. The actual construction of this table dates back to 1955, courtesy of Johnson Furniture Company. It's widely thought that Paul Frankel designed this piece, considering his involvement with Johnson Furniture Company when it was made.
There are several other people that could have. Renzo Ritelli, who was the head of design for the Johnson Furniture Company, also could have designed this table. It's one of those great kind of mysteries that we're not sure of.
Johnson Furniture Company was a prestigious maker of fine, expensive furniture for the wealthy. This table embodies the essence and spirit of Art Deco, despite being created outside its era. Despite being completely refinished, its value remains unaffected, estimated at
In today's market, at auction, this table would bring about $5,000, $6,000. At retail, it'd bring probably $8,000 or $9,000.
Thank you very much. We love it no matter what.
These days, sending a message or email is as simple as using an app on your phone. Your message is instantly delivered. But it wasn't always this way. In the past, messages and mail had to go through the post office. One man helped change that by making mail delivery easier and transforming the postal system. His name was Rowland Hill, and he invented the penny black stamp. This invention eventually led to the hobby of stamp collecting. Today's guest is one such collector with an impressive collection of stamps.
So that's quite an early depiction of our Queen, isn't it? I can imagine that sort of little 2-year-old excitement, not knowing which one you were going to get through the door that day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Each stamp has its own unique value and production technique.
And that's 15, 20 quid upwards. Here I've got the 4 margins. That's a £100 item. That one's about £200.
These stamps are tiny works of art that collectors now cherish deeply. The work of Mississippi artist George Orr was presented on the show. The appraiser discussed Orr's career, noting that he created around 10,000 pieces over 25 years. The first teapot reviewed was a traditional piece, showcasing Orr's earlier, more conventional style. A mismatched lid on the teapot was explained as a result of a mix-up during the 1970s, when Orr's collection was transported. The second teapot, known as a burnt baby, had been salvaged from the ruins of the 1894 Biloxi fire.
Orr went and scavenged through the ruin site and found these pieces that were left from his pottery, and he called them his burnt babies.
Despite the fire damage, it stands as a significant marker in Orr's artistic transition. The final teapot represented Orr's post-fire work, showcasing a more experimental and modern style. The appraiser praised the futuristic design and fluid form of the piece. Additionally, the original price tag on the piece added to its authenticity. Considering Orr's influence on American decorative ceramics, the value decided for each teapot was...
At auction today, a similar teapot would be somewhere between $6,000 and $9,000. Certainly at auction, if you could find one between $1,000 and $2,000 and probably more, in spite of the condition. This is an original price tag which would have read somewhere around $10. A similar one, since they're all so unique, but at auction would be somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000.
Today's episode takes us to a property designed inside and out by the famous architect Charles Rennie Mackintosh. Mackintosh was known for his Art Nouveau and Art Deco-inspired designs.
Mackintosh was actually a student at the Glasgow School for Art, while at the same time as a trainee architect and during the 1890s.
Not everything in the house was made or designed by Mackintosh, but the chair and lantern are his original works. Mackintosh also designed the house's interior and made changes to its structure. Some of the changes include the stairs and a new bay at the back of the house. True to the Art Deco style, the house features geometric designs. Even the bedrooms showcase Mackintosh's unique touch.
You've got these very delicate, almost oriental shades and so on, the beads, drop beads on them, the use of silk, which really take your eye up onto the ceiling and runs across the room.
Unfortunately, his work wasn't fully appreciated during his lifetime, and it was only after his death that Mackintosh's designs gained recognition. The guest grandmother in the mid-1990s introduced him to this baseball, signed by baseball legends. It had been in the family for decades, passed down from the guest grandfather. The guest grandfather met the baseball legends while working as a cruise ship inspector. The legends, including Babe Ruth, signed the baseball during a visit to Hawaii around 1933. And also, Hall of Famers Honus Wagner and Al Simmons signed it. Honus Wagner was a great shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Al Simmons was a great outfielder for the Athletics.
Interestingly enough, there's also a George Earnshaw signature on here. He was a great pitcher for the Athletics as well, who later went on to the White Sox.
The appraiser confirms the baseball's authenticity and historical significance, along with its exceptional condition, further increasing its value.
This is a 10. The ball is an 8. It's creamy. It's beautiful. It's red and green stitching, which they only used to 1934.
Due to its rarity and historical significance, its insurance value is...
I'd insure this for $30,000.
Wow, you're kidding.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
Are you surprised?
I am shocked.
The updated value is an impressive $85,000. In the midst of wartime secrecy and illicit bets, an unexpected artifact emerged. An expert encountered a unique and intriguing item, a worn canvas bag with a bake-like top, labeled the Tic Tac, a term linked to horse racing communication. The bag's owner revealed that during World War II, her mother used it to secretly carry betting slips to the train station when betting was illegal. Bets were placed inside with a clock that recorded the time. Once collected, the bag was locked to stop the clock and prevent fraud. The expert was captivated by the bag's ingenious design and historical significance. Although the item held little monetary value, its contribution to horse racing history was undeniable. It was suggested that the bag would be a perfect addition to the Horse Racing Museum at Newmarket, where it could be appreciated as a priceless museum piece. The owner's delight at this suggestion added a heartwarming conclusion to the story. The guest owned the table for several years before realizing it was featured in a design magazine. As a designer, they were initially excited to discover that it was a Vladimir Kagan piece from the mid-century era. The appraiser explained that while the table shares many characteristics with mid-century modern design, such as its kidney bean-shaped glass top, asymmetrical base, and soaring cantilevered arms, it is not actually a Vladimir Kagan design. Instead, the table was created by Adrian Pearsall for Craft Associates. Although Pearsall's design was not as exclusive as Kagan's, it was highly successful and emblematic of the period. Pearsall's knack for anticipating market trends made his designs highly desirable. The appraiser noted that Pearsall's tables, like this one, have become increasingly popular among collectors. It was originally purchased at a thrift shop in the 80s for a modest sum. It typically sells between $900 and $1,200 at auction and could be priced around $1,600 in retail shops specializing in mid-century modern pieces.
Because I took it to a store once here in Palm Springs, and he thought it was a Kagan, and he looked it up online.
In contrast, an original Vladimir Kagan piece of this nature would command between $5,000 and $6,000 at auction.
You can easily see them priced at about $1,600 retail.
Great.
If this was a work by Vladimir Kagan,
we are bestowed with a vintage percussive instrument of astounding beauty. It is a Mosrite prototype guitar, one of the best guitar collections made by the guitar manufacturing company Mosrite in 1960. The guest acquired the item at an auction store in the 1980s.
Simi Mosley played on our softball team in Oklahoma City. Ray Boatwright.
The founder of the Mosrite and his investor, Simi Mosley and Raymond Boatwright, were close friends with the guest. Simi Mosley was an American string instrument repairer, later famous as the founder of the guitar manufacturing company Mosrite. Reverend Raymond Boatwright was an American cowboy preacher, famous for his evangelism and investing in the creation of Mosrite. The guitar features a slim, fast neck and the original pickups, which deliver a signature Mosrite twang. Closely looking behind the guitar is a metal plate used at showcasing the distinctive double cutaway body shape that would later become iconic. There are noticeable repairs done to the guitar, with the original replaced parts placed alongside the guitar.
And so I replaced those to the best of my ability.
It's great that you saved this and you've saved this. Somebody did a really good job.
Overall, the condition of this piece is remarkable, especially considering its age. Given this prototype guitar's significance, representing the experimental phase of production of the guitar before perfection at auction would accrue.
If you were just going to sell it to a dealer or a Mosrite aficionado, retail $15,000.
The item to be revealed was purchased by the guest parents at an auction.
40-some years ago around La Crosse, Wisconsin, but other than that, I know very little about it.
Well, let's take a look and see what we can find out.
Uncovered is a Prussian spiked helmet, paired with its camouflage field cover.
A spiked helmet can be a fairly fancy thing, and this particular one has a field cover on it so that it doesn't attract too much attention when they're actually wearing them in the trenches and in the First World War.
At first glance, it appears to be an officer's helmet.
But it's not. It's an officer quality enlisted private purchase helmet, purchased by a non-commissioned officer, somebody who wanted to spend a little extra money to get a nice quality piece.
But it's actually not. A Prussian front plate is mounted on the front of the helmet.
And then the rest of the information about the helmet is on the sides.
One side of the helmet features a cockade in the Prussian colors of black and white. When turned to the other side, a national cockade, commonly found on Prussian spiked helmets, is revealed. The interior of the helmet boasts an officer-style lining, equipped with leather sweatbands and a silk interior.
And the fact that he's carrying several of these around in the lining of his helmet would indicate possibly that these are friends.
This historically significant piece, steeped in the emotions of its first wearer, would command a value of
a retail price in the neighborhood of $1,650.
Imperial Chinese porcelain is always ever so captivating. There are two Chinese vases on the show today with differing values.
One is thousands, one would have been hundreds of thousands of pounds, and that one which would have been this one. This is the Imperial vase here.
On the one side is the less valued of the two, from the 1700s, a time when China was at the height of its global influence. An exotic piece, it was made for the export market, crafted with the Western taste in mind. The other vase, often referred to as an imperial porcelain, is the star of the show. It was made for the Chinese court. This particular vase has exhilarating features, which include, but are not limited to, its depth of color.
But what you've got here, I think number one, what we look for is quality. And look at what we call the heaping and piling. It's that style of blue, how it's graded, shaded. The depth of color is exhilarating.
Sadly, however, this star vase ended up being broken, and its parts were simply glued together. If the vase were still in perfect condition and hadn't been broken, its value would have been in the region of... Today's episode is quite different. At an antique store, these three individuals are trying to purchase an item.